Hello, welcome to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thanks for supporting these weekly conversations. If you are new to these weekly conversations, welcome to the family. My team and I are excited that you found your way here. We also love getting all the words of encouragement, so please continue to send your comments and your feedback. They really mean a lot to us, and they also mean a lot to the guests that join us week after week. Be sure to check out some of the past conversations. You will not be disappointed. And if you were tuning in last week, we apologize for the sudden drop signal, but that full conversation with Representative Jose Cruz is up now and is definitely worth your time to go back and check out. But I need you to do me a favor tonight. This conversation is too important to keep to yourself, so share this conversation. If you're concerned at all about our criminal justice system, tonight's conversation you really want to be a part of. In fact, the next few weeks, I will be introducing you to people who have an inside knowledge of our criminal justice system, and we're going to talk all about it. So don't keep this conversation to yourself. Don't be that kind of person. Share this conversation with your community. Hit the share button, the like button, the love button, or start a watch party. Do it right now. I also have to tell you that I am so excited that we're back in Green Pasture Studios. So special shout out to Richard and Amy James, who give us a home out here in Spencer, Oklahoma at their studio. Now, before we dive into tonight's conversation, let me tell you what my 3 simple rules for having these weekly conversations are. There's just 3. 1, add value to people and my community. I just want to add value. 2, inspire you to believe in what people can become when we work together. And number 3, just love people, period. All this means is I want you to be inspired. I want you to get useful information and resources, and I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation on Cubit's Conversations will be about information, inspiration, and hope. Now, even though I've been involved professionally with the criminal justice system for 25 years now, I have always believed that there is no such thing as people we can just throw away. I just believe people can change, and I have witnessed it too many times to count. And tonight, I want to introduce you to 2 gentlemen who prove this point. My friend Doug Shaffer was sentenced to 60 years in prison, 21 of which he served at medium and maximum security prisons across the state of Oklahoma. From the age of 20 to 40, Doug was behind razor wire. At age 40, Doug was released on parole, which he continues to serve until September of 2024. Doug has been free now for 10 years. He's 50 years old, and he is currently Director of Operations for Scissortail Waste Solutions, which happens to be a fair chance employer working within and outside the criminal justice system to help those justice-involved individuals and single moms find balance in their lives through a faith in God and sustain employment. I met him last year while he and I happened to be seated next to each other on a panel over a discussion about race and justice. We did this at a local church, and I will never forget it. It was a powerful day. I should also mention that he has a lovely wife, Kristen, and a gorgeous 8-year-old daughter. And Doug will soon be called Dr. Shaffer because he is almost done earning his doctorate degree. Dr. Shaffer in the house. Right. Joining Doug and I tonight is his best friend, Wayne Easter. At the age of 19, Wayne was involved in a first-degree felony murder case. He quickly accepted responsibility for his actions and pleaded guilty. As a result, he received a life prison sentence. Wayne had absolutely no expectation of being released, but in 2011, after 31 years, he was released. Wayne worked as an elder in the inmate church at the Stringtown Correctional Center and became a friend and mentor to dozens of men. Since his release, he has returned to prison, but as a religious volunteer, and recently served as a panelist at the 2021 Oklahoma Justice Awareness Forum. Wayne is the facilities manager at Scissortail Waste Solutions, and he continues to serve his church and has been married to his lovely wife, Virginia, for 25 years. Gentlemen, I am honored to have you joining me tonight. Welcome to Conversations.
Glad to be here, bud.
That's good. So, I don't know where to start. There was 60-year prison sentence there was all that kind of stuff. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of that story, tell us Tell us who you are. Oklahoma, born, bred, or was it one of those I came to Oklahoma and stayed for vacation kind of thing? What was it?
A little bit of both. I'm a transplanted Jayhawk. So,
Okay.
Kansas Jayhawk. So my dad was involved in a lot of stuff he shouldn't be, and we kind of migrated up here to get away from some of that when I was 11.
11 years old. Wayne, you from here?
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Well, it's good to be in Oklahoma. We love stealing them from Oklahoma.
Oh, yes,
over
yes,
here in
yes,
Oklahoma
yes,
City.
yeah. But I haven't been back to Tulsa. I've been back there maybe 3 times, and that was like briefly. But Oklahoma City is going to be here and going to be my home for now. So.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
Well, I was real close with my dad. That was one of those relationships where you didn't want to be real close to your dad. We were poor white trash. He lived off of his Social Security disability and a small VA check, and went from church to church every couple of years, just seeing what he could get with his hand out. And then when they got tired of him, he just moved to a new church.
Where's your mom?
She was there. Every once in a while she would work, but I can't recall my dad ever having an actual job my entire life.
Right.
And so as I grew up, he and I became good friends, and he started selling prescription drugs, stole the doctor's pads out of the doctor's offices and forged his own prescriptions so he could sell some, so he could buy his own. And I saw what kind of money could be made there, and so I started helping my dad at the age of 16, and things just kind of spiraled from there.
Right. Wayne, do you have a similar story, or?
No, actually, my mother, she raised us because they was divorced, and at the age, how old was I? I was 11 when she died. We was going to church, and back then the women set the breakfasts up for the people to eat breakfast that morning.
Mm-hmm.
And At church.
Uh-huh.
And they were setting the tables down, and one of the table's legs hit her foot, which caused an aneurysm, and the blood stopped in the head, and then she passed away. So from there, we kind of just was given to this auntie, to this uncle, in that sense there.
How many of it was you?
How many of us? It's 2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
Right.
Where are you on there?
I'm the youngest.
The spoiled one.
Yeah.
I know what that means.
That's the truth. He's still spoiled.
And then, but as far as the foundation that they gave us, it was in Christ. So, but when you're not familiar with the other side, you don't know how it's gonna come at you. So that's in another story.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, Wayne, the very first time that Doug and I sat down to talk, he mentioned you at least 3 times. At least three times.
Right.
At least one of them was good.
At least to get one in there, yeah.
So I'm curious. So you're obviously special in his heart. I'm curious how you. I know from the bio, you had to meet in prison.
Right.
But talk to us about that relationship. How did that come about?
Well, I don't know how Wayne got involved with the church, but I had actually tried to stab a guy and was sent to solitary confinement. And after a brief period of solitary confinement, I was transferred to the Stringtown Correctional Facility. And that's where I met Wayne. I'd given my life to the Lord in solitary and was purposed to start going to church, and just, here I am, God. And he was one of the first guys that I met. They had just started an inmate church, and he was one of the elders. And I was at that very critical point to where, do I want to become a full-blown convict, or do I want to be a Christian?
What's the age difference?
Almost 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about? So I'm the least.
You're older.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I gotta say, yeah.
So you're coming in. What did you think? What did you think of your man here when you walk in? You went to church. He's leading. He's doing something there.
Singing, actually.
Oh, you were singing.
There was 3 of them. Him, Lieutenant Davis.
Tried to.
And I can't remember who the third guy was. Lieutenant Davis passed away in prison a few years ago.
Right. So it was so many different groups, so I don't know who you might be talking
They
about.
always sung a cappella, and that was the first time I saw him. He was up there singing. And I thought, this this guy can't carry a tune in a bucket. No. But we played basketball together. We got to know each other on the basketball court, lifting weights. He was the kind of guy that he stood out in his silent strength, and you knew that you didn't have to worry about all the prison stuff. Because in prison, I'm telling you, a young white guy and an old black guy, there's only one or two ways that could go.
The only two, yeah.
And
yeah.
as far as the prison's concerned. So Wayne kind of taught me that you can be a Christian and still be strong. You don't have to buy into all the garbage people use for protection or sense of security or what other people think. You don't have to be a victim and be a Christian.
How did you teach that?
It's like us three. It's just your circle has to be the circle. So you can see my life. I can see yours. You can't go behind the curtain and be somebody else. So it's just, it's just being yourself. That's really.
So I want to get back to how you, because this is something really, really dear to my heart is mentoring. Mm-hmm. And what you're describing is mentoring. But before we get to mentoring, tell us how, either one can tell this, but tell us how you ended up in prison in the first place. I want people to see the transformation, the kind of person that went in, the transformation that might have happened within, and then how in the world are you sitting here, especially you, first of all, you sitting here with a black best friend that's older and a cop.
yeah.
Okay, so this is a story, right? So tell us what it is.
Well, for me, and it's different, I think, for every individual believer because God works in the heart. He doesn't work through a guidebook. For me, I got to that point to where I just didn't want to be who I had been. And whether it happens at the age of 20 like it did me or 19, 20, 21, whatever it was for Wayne, every person is different. And as I was growing up, as I said earlier, I had a good relationship with my dad, but it wasn't a healthy relationship with my dad. I didn't have a role model, other than what I don't want to grow up to be. So when I got to prison and I started doing the drugs and all the stuff before prison, I was my own man. I was creating myself based off of what I thought a guy should be. And when I got to prison, that was just magnified as everything that's wrong in this world is what you're supposed to be exponentially. And for the first year and a half or so, I bought into that. And then I had my dad smuggling prescription drugs into me and money and breaking my mom's heart. And I got to that point in that solitary confinement where I said, enough is enough. And then I started purposely looking for, if this is what you want from me, God, you've got to show me somebody that I can model after because I don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the final thing that got you in prison? I know that you tell a little bit of this story at different times, but you were on a crime spree. You were just doing all kinds of little things.
I was a small-time drug dealer, fighter, brawler. Every night of the week, I was selling drugs, fighting, and getting drunk, partying. I mean, my whole life was a party. And I got arrested twice and went to prison for drug charges and theft. I only served 7 months of a 3-year sentence, which was the worst thing in the world for me. Sending me to prison for 7 months is like sending me to my senior class in high school. It just made me worse than what I was. It emboldened me. So when I got out, and then my broken marriage, my wife was wanting to try to make things work, and I couldn't get a job. I just got my GED, and literally the last week I was in prison. So I'm a 19-year-old kid with nothing but a GED and a convicted drug dealer. So some old friends of mine said, hey, we can help you get through Christmas until you can find a job. Just come do this little deal with us. So we burglarized this man's home, and he came home while we were in his house, and I put him in a wrestling hold, the sleeper hold, I guess is what they call it. And I strangled him. I didn't mean to. I didn't even realize that I had until I saw it on the news the next night. But what you mean to do and what you do when you make those bad choices, you don't have control over what happens.
Right. And it all changed.
My life, it was first time I ever saw my dad cry. It was that jury found me guilty and sentenced me to 60 years. He broke down. One and only time I ever seen my dad lose control.
Yeah. And then off you go, and that actually is the point where transformation. That's where you had to be there.
I think everybody, and that's from my experience, because I know a lot of people seem like they've never done anything wrong. For everybody that I know who's radically changed their life has reached that moment of complete desperation in their life, and they're faced with that choice, that proverbial fork in the road, I guess you could say. Which way are you going to go? And that one step is the first step towards the rest of your life. And for me, it happened in that solitary confinement cell.
Yeah. When the bio that I read on you said you had no expectation
Of getting out?
No expectation of getting out.
None.
That you accepted responsibility for a crime where someone lost their life.
Right.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that and how you were able to be so positive if there was no expectation, like the hope. Well, what I would think most people would find hope in getting out, and you didn't put your hope there. Tell me how you ended up there and how you stayed so positive.
I befriended, I was 19, and I met a couple of guys in the neighborhood. Didn't know too many people, and we became friends. So at 19, I was just introducing to beer, just got introduced to weed. So we was just kind of doing that little thing. And one of the older guys, his uncle gave him a gun, So we don't know nothing about it. He just had it. So late at night, there was it was a get and go. That was back then, get and go. It was a get and go, and it was empty. We was in the parking lot, and it was like, he said, well, let's go rob it. What? Let's go rob it. I got a gun. We ain't gonna hurt nobody. So we did it, got away. And then it started, that's how it started.
Oh.
It was a fun thing at first, and then we got away again, and we got away again. And then at one time, we went in there. I went in first. Pulled the gun. By that time, we all had guns. See what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Now we can accumulate, we all have guns. So went in there, pulled the gun on the manager or whoever he was, and then the other one came in. He went around to the cash register, to the man, and then the man wouldn't open the safe. So I said, let me come around. I went around there. I grabbed the keys. So it was a safe in the bottom of the what is this?
Floor.
There you go. Let's see. Yeah, bottom of the floor. So I'm trying to open this safe because you got to turn the key, even though it had a combination of the key. So then he took him back there, and then all of a sudden I hear shots, pow, pow, pow. So I don't know who shot who. So I didn't duck down. I don't know. I'm ready to hop over this deal, and then he came around, and then we left. And then the next morning, that found out he was dead. So then we got to get out of town. So the money that was accumulated in there was no more than $200-300 at that. Can't get out of town with that. So we go to another. You told them get and go, and then that's how we got caught. So during that process, the older guy that was with us, he turned state. He didn't do no time. The other guy,
you got to explain. I know what turned state is,
right?
But
okay.
What turned state is.
Turned state is. They made a deal with him. If he testifies against me and the other individual, then he can get a lesser sentence. And so he didn't do no time. The next guy who did it, and I want to explain when I said he did it,
right?
Because that's what I had to wrestle with in prison, mentally.
Yeah.
Because although I didn't shoot him, I'm still just as guilty. I don't care if I just opened the door. I don't care if I was just driving. God finally made me understand that, hey, you just as guilty.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So, because I was like, Lord, look here. All I did was this and this, and you let this guy go, and you know, I'm talking to
Yeah.
God like that, and he just sat back, okay. And then in time,
Until you get that.
until I got it, because I was like, God, you unfair. That's not fair, you know. But I got it. So yeah, I'm just as guilty, and more so, because my foundation, which was raised in church, should have gave me something.
Right.
But I didn't understand at 19 how darkness is. I mean, we fighting something we can't see.
Wow.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was fighting a war, of spiritual war, because all Satan really has is a power of suggestion. That's it. And it's up to me to either process it, listen to him, or listen to God. But since I didn't have the equipment, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, I can't fight him. I mean, my nature's fallen, so I'm going to easily lean over to what he's talking about. So anyway, I got my sentence, and this was very interesting. This is 1981, and I went to Granite, Oklahoma. So at that time, the population, it was overcrowded. So we were sleeping in the school. They took the school away. They set up beds. So that next morning, I was going to be fed. I was talking to this white guy in front of me. We just having a little conversation. I go in the mess hall, and he was in front of me. So I just follow him. And I turned, and everybody was just looking at me over on this side. And I was like, what are they looking at? White seat over here, black seats over here. This is 1981.
The segregation
Right.
in prison
Right.
was as thick as anything you read
Right.
about.
And then the administration, this is what they bred.
That was
Whites-
the culture.
Right. So I'm in the wrong line. I don't know. I ain't been. I'm thinking whites and blacks is cool, but yeah, the other day was looking at me. So when I got my tray, I went on that side of the deal because
You saw it.
Right, I saw it. So then from then, you know, but when my first 10 years, I was like, now I'll say my first 10 years, it wasn't about God. It was about watching my back and learning this system, because I already felt that I ain't finna, this is gonna be my world, so I better learn the rules of what to do, what not to do.
And then there's the rules, and then there's the culture.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
That's something else.
Well, in the Department of Corrections for years, and it's been 10 years, so I can't say what it's like now. But during my entire 20 plus years, the Department of Corrections fed into that culture instead of trying to change it or force it. If you got sent to a segregation cell somewhere, the first thing they asked you when you got ready to get out, will you live with a black man? And your answer is yes or no. And if it's yes, when you get out, you better be prepared to fight. You won't even make it to the cell. If you say no, then you sit in there until a same race cell comes open. And the Department of Corrections, actually, they fostered that for years by basically condoning it by the actions that they took. And I mean, you won't find a more racially charged or segregated place in prison.
Which makes this really crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it makes this really crazy. How did you navigate this friendship with that thick culture and the obvious visual differences?
Well, for me, I guess it would probably be harder for me since he was the older black guy and I was the white guy. So it's just, you know, honestly, you had to be willing to fight. You had to be willing to say, I'm my own man. I'm not getting a tattoo on my neck. I'm not signing up with that group over there. If we got to do what we got to do, but I'm my own man. And there were times where you had to fight. I mean, there's times when Wayne could tell you he thought I was crazy for some of the things I was going to do.
Yeah, you go crazy. I didn't think that.
But you had in there again. When I first started, I didn't think I was ever getting out. That was my life. So I wanted to serve God, but also realize where I was at, and you had to find a balance within yourself. And for me, I was willing to do some things that out here you wouldn't even contemplate doing, fighting and knives. I can't tell how many times, but I guarantee it was a different story for him because the races treat each other differently when you make that stand.
Right. So what's the secret? I want this for myself. I just went into this past weekend, and we're going to talk about it. You got to see it in 2 weeks on the 31st. I'm going to bring all these men that went with me to Kojak this past Saturday. We went to Kojak, and we spent the day mentoring and trying to usher in hope to young men who are on this path. Mm-hmm. If something don't change, they're going. Right. I'm telling you. But we just believe in what they can become. And so me and 15 guys, we went in there. We had an orchestrated event that we knew how we got kind of plan on what we do. But we get to introduce ourselves and learn a little bit about them. And it's a lot of horrendous things that they participated in. That if you looked at the activity, you would go, no 15, 16, 17-year-old did that.
Right.
I can't see them doing that. And then when you meet them, you go, I can't believe that kid did that. But then they talk to you and you tell you, and they are just kids. But then they tell their story, and it's a lot of trauma. It's a lot of stuff that I cannot believe they had to deal with at such a young age. But at any rate, that happened. You did what they said you did, most likely. I'm not here to judge that. But I want you to change, and you have a miraculous record of befriending and getting this change in individuals. What's the secret to connecting? What do we say to that mom that's dealing with that young boy right now?
I don't think there's so much of a secret because see, Doug, he has this aura that he'll come up to you and say hello.
Yeah.
I won't. See what I mean? Uh-huh. It's just I sit back and I observe. And then if I see, because there's strength in everybody. I don't care dark, whether they inside the body of Christ or outside. There's strength, there's something there planted that God put in there. And if you see it, if I see you like playing basketball, which Doug is, I can't stand it. But then there's your connection.
Yeah.
If I don't have to introduce myself, but I'll see him on the court, and then let me have Doug on my team, and then it starts from there. It always starts with something that you see. I see something in you that I see in me, and
so finding the commonality,
right?
And so you make yourself a master at just finding the commonality, even when it's not readily it's just not super apparent.
Right. But I also wait. I don't say hello because I need to see that it's going to be okay. Because I don't. Some people you see, and they just great. They just do anything. They're doing everything, and you don't want that.
You don't want to be connected.
No, don't want to be connected with that. So, for me, I sit back. And then I'll observe, and then I'll see it, and then I'll just wait until he tells me, okay, or I'll just go on my own. But yeah.
So how did you end up? How did you end up ultimately getting out? Was it your good record? Was it the accountability you took? How did you end up?
No, I actually I went through. Oh man, that's the long story. But parole. I mean. When I first got in, how much time I did? I did 7 years, and my auntie died. Back then, they took you to the funeral. Mm-hmm. So I went to the funeral. I'm shackled and everything. Went to the funeral. Went to go view the body, and this woman has this card, and she just sticks it out. So I take the card. I don't even know this lady, and get on the bus, and the card said Carolyn Crump, parole board member. So and then on the back it said write me. I said okay. I just rolled in and told her what I was in for. I mean, you know, and then from it was probably 2 or 3 months later, I was brought up. However, they gave it to me. Not only did they give it to me, they said, we're gonna give you a 45. We're gonna reduce it to a 45. You give us a couple more years, and we'll bring you back up. So that was lovely. Now the governor got to sign it, but the governor's son died that week from drugs, from somebody selling him drugs. He shut everything down. He just he had a no sticker. Pow, no. And so when that happened, then I had to do the whole deal. So it was just like a roller coaster. I get it. I got paroled at least. I know I got paroled 3 times, but the governor
would never.
No.
Would never sign.
And that's one thing I would like to stress. I would not like to say on as far as when people are given a job to do. Parole board members, police, governor. You got to trust those people that's under you. To me, if the parole board recommends, the governor should ride with them because that's your board. You ride with your board, but it's so many different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
feel that.
Yeah.
Right.
You
put him in position for a reason.
Sure. Because if he had appointed, I don't know how many points, 2 or 3, at least 2. If you appoint these people to oversee this area here, then trust them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just trust their judgment. But it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So the system, I think, where people would look at what you have become, and I'm curious to know this: is the criminal justice system designed or supposed to be? Let's do that. Is it supposed to be rehabilitation? Are you supposed to go in to get fixed, or are you supposed to go in to get punished? What is the system supposed to do?
At least for the last 30 years, 40 years now, the count's 10 that we've been out, it's been about punishment and warehousing. Programs come and go, focus on faith-based programs, no faith-based programs, VOTEC, no VOTEC. That's all politics. The core of the Department of Corrections is about punishment and warehousing. Governor Stitt mentioned several times at the beginning of this term before the pandemic hit, he wanted to make some significant changes in the justice system, bring faith-based programming back into the system, and a lot of that got stalled out through the pandemic. And I've talked with Representative Humphreys just this morning with my daughter, and they want to make some more changes like that, change it from a warehousing type mentality. But that's all they do. I mean, it's the mindset of the correctional officers who eventually promote up to be wardens and regional directors. It's all, they can outlast a 4-year governor or even an 8-year governor. They just outlast whatever. You just don't push your particular culture, and you can just outlast a governor, and then things just go back to the way they've been designed to do. Most of these prisons are in these small towns where they're about economic survival of the community, not about corrections. And personally, I don't think a lot of people agree with me, but I think that's probably one of the biggest problems the justice system in Oklahoma has is our prisons are more about the economic survival of those communities and not corrections. That's not to say there shouldn't be something there for those small communities.
And what you mean is they employ a large population of the town in the prison, in different roles, not just the correction officers, but also in the kitchen and maintenance
relatives of each other,
Right.
families, friends, people you grew up. So if you make one person mad, it's all about protecting the economy of that local community, not about.
What's the fix for that? You've thought about it.
I have thought about it.
You've had more time to think about that than I have.
I have thought about it dramatically. I've spoke with quite a few people here recently about that. But it's one of the things that would take very big vision and somebody willing to fight the system and the politics to do what's right and not what's popular.
Okay. So it did its job. So it punished you into change.
No.
Okay.
It attempted to punish us. Between Wayne on the inside and some other like-minded people that I met, and a man by the name of Don Hazel, who lived down by a prison in Stringtown. He got involved. The chaplain there set me up with him on a one-on-one mentoring program. I wanted to start a whole program for the prison, but the chaplain said, no, I'll get you somebody, Doug, but we're not going to start a program like that. So this gentleman and I, every week, met for Bible study, and we became really good friends. And he invested in me personally, as not just as a religious volunteer, but man to man. He invested in me, and he was with me for the next 10, 12 years of incarceration, and then after I was out, he was there. And his wife and his family are all still good friends of mine. But he was willing to invest in me, be that mentor that I never had. And you had mentioned, you guys went to the Kodiak, and I can't stress it enough. It doesn't matter about changing the system. You change the one person that's right in front of you.
Hey, boy. Hey.
You can't just change that one, and it's always worth that one. Whether that person succeeds or fails, there'll be another one. Just focus on the ones right in front of you. If every one of us did that, the system would change. But just focus on the one in front of you.
And he focused on you. He let you know that you mattered.
Absolutely, that he would not give up on. Even when the administration started, harassing him because he and I were close, it didn't matter where I went throughout the state. He was more committed to me than my own parents were. He was committed to my success. And in all honesty, even with the friends on the inside, if it wasn't for that man's commitment to me, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right. What's been the hardest thing since your release, Wayne? What's the hardest thing? You've been out now how long?
2012.
2011.
Right.
What was 11? No, 2 digits.
He literally got out 2 weeks after I did.
Oh, okay. So you guys were tied at the hip, really. So
Cut. Go ahead.
Right. What's the hardest thing? I mean, I can't imagine my hope being I'm just going to be in here. I'm just going to do Christ in here and mentor people in here, and then all of a sudden, and I guess it's not all of a sudden, but one day, you're home.
Yeah. This whole world out here is so different. To be inside for 30 years in a system that you don't pay bills, all that's taken care of, and all you do is your routine. It's just routine every day. And then they set you out there, and then they say, get a job, pay your fines. It's like throwing water on you, cold water. It was a shock, and I still that leg. I stay just with. I hang around him. I have to. I don't know why, but I don't associate. I don't trust
people.
Right. I don't trust because, especially since I'm on parole, I can't get too close because I don't know what you got in your car. I don't know, so I have to kind of stay back. But that's probably one. He's making me come out of that by
doing this stuff.
Right.
Right.
But it's good now in technology.
Technology.
He still has a flip phone.
That's right. I got it. Where's my flip phone?
If I wore out his flip phone,
I wore it out, and I bought that's right.
Another flip phone.
Well, at least it's a Razor. It was like one of the last thing. It has a camera on it.
I've given him
he's doing okay.
2 or 3 Android iPhones, and he just refuses to use them.
Zings all over the place. You do this, and they won't stop. I ain't got time. And a typewriter, I'd rather just talk to you. With all this, you want to type? Yeah, I don't know.
No text. You calling a text a typewriter?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, he is.
That's a typewriter.
Yes, he is.
When we was when I was in the 81, 70, you put your finger in the hole and you turn. That was the phone.
I get it. I get it. Who's your service with?
AT&T.
No, not that. That's Southwestern Bell. If it's on that thing, that's how old that is.
Oh no! Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so technology is a challenge.
Right.
I mean,
What about?
consider they didn't even have even for me, 10 years after him, the internet didn't even exist.
Didn't even exist.
when we went to prison.
Yeah. And now maps can tell you exactly where you're going and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Tell me about the job, finding work, gainful employment, getting back to taking care of your family and your wife and your kid.
That wasn't good. I mean, you like, thank you, Lord, for letting me out. But doors, once you fill out that application and you state on there, they ask you, have you ever have a felony? And you honestly tell them you did, and doors close. And I can understand, especially with the type of crime that I had. However, just give me a chance. So when you can't get a job at McDonald's, at these where everybody can get a job, then that's bad. That's really bad,
Wayne and I both have the advantage of having wives out here waiting
Right.
for us. I met my wife and married her almost 8 years before I got out. So we had that advantage when we got out, and we still struggled. And there's no wonder a lot of these guys or these young ladies who get out of prison and they don't have that financial safety net for them, and they face the struggles, the rejections, the societal bias for just having it doesn't even matter what it is, just having a background, that they give up and they go back to, or they come up on
right.
Christmas or a special birthday for one of their children. They want to be able to do what a father's supposed to be able to do. They're willing to take that one chance, but it's always that next chance that always ends up going south.
Mm-hmm.
And society, and I talked with Reamers a couple weeks ago about this. We have a corporate social responsibility. Even as individuals, if you want to ignore that, as corporations and employers, we have a responsibility to our society to help people that are going to come out and be amongst us, help them become good neighbors, help them have that sustainable job, help them have that thing that they can provide for their family, and not stick them in digging a ditch or a construction laborer hand for the rest of their lives. What guy wants to aspire to grow up for the rest of his life and pick up trash for a construction site?
But these people are saying, the best way, and I know I have elders say this a lot. The best way to judge a man is to look at what he has done. That'll tell you what he will do. That's kind of the mindset, is the background of an individual kind of tell you where they come from. And then I gotta trust. It takes a lot of trust.
Sure.
I'm a mom and pop business, or I'm trying to build a business, and I know what this person has done.
Well, that's where the issue in society comes in. Is, first of all, research has shown. Blumenstein and Nakamura in 2009 wrote a research paper called "Redemption in the Face of Widespread Criminal Background Checks," and it is a statistical fact that the longer somebody has been separated from contact with the justice system, they reach a point to where they're no more likely to reoffend than somebody who's never offended at all.
Where's that point?
It's a statistical fact.
What's that point? 1 year, 2 years?
It varies based off the type of crime that they committed before, their age. There's variables involved in that. But just to say because a guy or a young lady has a background that you won't hire them, that bias forces people, and you can say you agree or you don't agree, but it forces people to know nothing but crime their whole lives.
It puts that choice back on their plate.
Sure.
As the most attractive choice, because it's an immediate need they need to satisfy. But if we were to set up a system to where your background could not be considered unless it was relevant to the job function, like you don't want a child molester working in a daycare or a drug dealer working in a pharmacy. But if the background is not functionally relevant, it should not be allowed to be a consideration. There needs to be some protections, and I'm not saying favoritism or give them a job over another qualified candidate, but if they're the most qualified candidate and the background does not relate to the job function, it shouldn't be a barrier to employment.
What has been your experience? Because I know when we met, you were looking. You were on the list.
Yeah.
You were about to get a really good job.
And that job was taken away because of my background. And fortunately, God had other plans for me, so here I'm now, and I'm able to help a lot of other people where I couldn't have done that in that other job. But I've got and Wayne and I are drastically, he's black, I'm white. I've got tons of education and
You
career
got
tech
2
skills.
master's degrees.
I'm finishing up my doctorate. And Wayne, we had different experiences. But
I got a PhD. I'll tell you about it.
But the experience that we both share is when it comes to society, I look at it as both the same. Nothing else matters but the background. And, you know, I've had people, I was HOA president for my community for up until October of last year. And I had people who would get mad at a decision that we made as the board, and they would single me out. And they would do, this one lady did a Google search on me and put a packet together and went door to door in my neighborhood talking about how I was a danger to the community. I was bringing the property. I'd been the HOA president for 4 years and done more for the community than anybody else before me. Director of operations for my company. I mean, criminal justice activist. But to this lady, I was a threat to the neighborhood, and she had every right legally to do what she was doing. It didn't bother me, but it bothered my wife and my daughter. How do you explain that to your daughter? So those types of things are what make it difficult, regardless of what race you are, what your educational background is, your socioeconomic status. When you've got a background, we're all the same.
What's the and I know this is a tough question in both your cases. What's the responsibility to victims? In my line of work, we're always concerned about the victims. There's a lot of work talking about criminal justice reform and the activism for how we treat the prisoner. But what do we do for those people we can't get back? What do we talk about the loved ones of those victims?
For me, I mean, if I had an opportunity to not just talk to them, say for instance, if they stayed in Oklahoma City, let me cut your yard until I die. Let me do something. That would be my deal. I would want to.
You want to serve them?
Sure, because that's what we're here to do anyway. We're put on this earth to serve. Christ came to serve. He didn't come to be served. But I would like to show them how sorry I am. But just let me, whatever I can do, just let me do for free for the rest of my life.
You feel that strongly about taking accountability?
Sure,
Right.
sure. Because what I did is you can't, saying you sorry ain't enough because this guy ain't coming back. Yeah. And my iniquity will always be in front of me because that's why you was talking about the jobs. Yes, we're faced with difficulty, but our iniquity will always be before us. We're always going to have to earn or channel our way and to show people that we have changed. But yeah, our past is always going to be there, and this is something we have to deal with.
Do you work with these victim groups? These groups were survivor groups. This kind of thing. Is there something that you can offer to those groups that might help them heal? I've talked to those groups, and the way they open up those meetings are just absolutely heart-wrenching when they talk about it. And some 10 and 25 years old, but they still struggle with closure. Is there something that you can do or have you even thought about that's something that you can offer of value to groups like that, even though your survivors or your victims may not be part of those groups? Could that be a part of the healing and the restoration?
Absolutely. And I think for the last several years that I was in prison, I tried to do a mediation with the victims of my crime, the family members of the guy that I had taken his life. They didn't want any part of it. And I completely understand that. But there are those that do. I met my wife at the Stringtown prison. She was actually coming into the prison to mediate with a guy who had killed her best friend, like a sister to her. And she used to go to these victims groups, and sometimes it was just all about hate. It's always about passion and emotion and brokenness. And they have every right to feel those things. And for somebody like me and Wayne, when we've got to that point and God has redeemed us and things are going great for us, for that person to look at me and say, what right does he have to be successful?
Right.
The mother, I don't know of Wayne's victim, but mine, he was a single guy. But let's say he had been married and had 3 kids. What is my responsibility to that family? And if they won't accept help, and I get it, if they won't accept help from me because it's too painful, 100%, I don't want to make it worse for them. But as a society, we owe them more than just, a victim's compensation check or, hey, here's where you can go for counseling. I think as a society, we owe them for the rest of their lives. That mother now has to enter the workforce. They have daycare for the kids. She's got to learn. Their whole lives are going to be changed forever. As a society, we need to be involved with that family, that victim, for the rest of their lives. My offense was not against society per se. It's against people. And people to people need to take care of those. I'd be happy to go to those groups. And if they just want to, ask questions, well, why did you do this? Or why, even if it's not there.
I know somebody I need to introduce you to.
You want to help in whatever way that you can.
I bet you would bring to this group. Me and my wife sat down with this group last year, and we were just broken. We were just broken, and we didn't know how to fix it. But I still stay in contact with a couple of those people, and I bet you they would be willing to have a conversation or would welcome some help just to bring one or two of those people, just one of those people to a little better thing. Tell me a little bit about, and we'll come to a close here. But Scissortail, what are you doing over there? You guys are running the place over there. I need a job, maybe. I don't know.
Well, you got one. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Well, Scissortail started. I had ran a dumpster company for 5 years. My pastor had connected with 2 brothers at 2 different churches, and they said they'd teach me the business if I could run it. They had other businesses that they wanted to run. They needed somebody to take over this one. As long as we shared the values, they could teach the business. So they gave me the job, and it was sink or swim. So for 5 years, I learned the industry, and I grew that business until they had 2 offers on the table to buy it. So they sold it right at the start of the pandemic. Ex-con, on parole for murder, not going to get a job with 1,000 Halliburton employees, recently released at the same time. So was going through that, and I was going to the Christian Businessmen's Conference. I shared my testimony with the Bank First president in Yukon, and he
Is this with Brent Votter?
No, this was with Jay Emery.
Okay.
Brent Votter was at another group.
Okay.
And Brian Meister had came and shared his testimony about how he owned a small dumpster company. He was thinking about just selling it. He just was searching for what God was going to do next in their lives. They didn't know what to do. So Brent and Jay got together and said, these 2 guys need to talk. And so both of us sharing different sides of God's intervention in this world through us, they connected us 2 together. And Brian had a mentor in Denver. They'd met at Waste Expo a couple years before. So they called him and said, hey, we got a guy. And he said, we met at Jimmy's Egg in downtown. And they said, Doug, if you'll come on board and you'll do this for us, we'll back you 100%. We said, as long as you understand, this is me and Brian both to this day, as long as you understand, our heart, our purpose is to engage our community with the gospel. We'll make you a prophet, but give us the liberty the freedom to engage with this. Yeah. If we're about God's business, he'll be about this business. And for the last year, we're exponentially at better sales than what we were after 5 years at the other company, after just 1 year here. And we continue to do what God sets in front of us. Now I've got 25% of my workforce are ex-felons, 25% are single moms.
Wow.
Purposely finding these people to give them an opportunity to have some stability in their life and not either continue down a path or for the single moms to ever have to go down that path. And we get to do schools and churches and just tons of stuff that we do things for PR, and then we do a lot of things we don't ever tell anybody about.
Right.
Because that's not what it's for. But as long as we continue to do what God sets in front of us, he will continue to grow this business. And God's about relationships, and so is Oklahoma City. So it works great.
That's good stuff. So tell me lastly, how do we, what kind of people need Scissortail Waste Solutions? I need a big dumpster, a small dumpster. Tell me what am I hiring? What am I calling for?
Come on, boss.
Anything from a small garage clean out to a big construction site. We've got some of the largest general contractors in this area that have people that I couldn't even touch before after 5 years. But God has just done so much for us. We connected with another large $250 million a year general contractor today. One that I couldn't even get a conversation with at Division I disposal. But there, people are seeing what Scissortail is doing in the community. They're saying, yeah, we know you're just a trash dumpster, but we like what you guys are doing. Can we be a part of that? And so any kind of dumpster, anything
Fascinating.
we need.
Fascinating. What's the with your activism and your work? What is the community? What do you need from the community?
What would you say you need?
My hair back, but they can't give me that.
Good luck. If you can figure that out, let me know.
Yeah. The community, just really just acceptance. You know, you don't have to open your door and say, you know, but if you see something, you can, when you meet a person, it don't take long to kind of, the spirit will identify each other. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
If it's somebody that's outside the body of Christ, you'll say, something about that guy that ain't clicking with. It's not a judgment on what they look like or what color. It's just something that, and then when you meet somebody that has the Spirit of God, it's like, I don't know why I like that guy, or I like the girl, or whatever.
Basically give everybody a chance.
Sure. Because, I mean, you know, there's only one judge, because they're seated. So for me to sit there and judge somebody, that means I took this chair that he was sitting down, kicked it from under him, got in it and say, I'll judge this. There's one judge. And that's who we follow, Christ. That's it. So for me, everybody just should just treat each other with just the basics, human, how you doing?
Dr. Shaffer, I know. Well, I'm the first to say that.
Yeah, you can say Dr. Doug. That's what I told Wayne.
Dr.
He has
Doug?
to call me.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to be the first to claim it. So Doc, I know that this is on your heart. You put together that big forum a few weeks ago. Give us one book that everybody needs to go read right now.
The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's a difficult read, but it will change your life.
I love it. Appreciate y'all being here so much. It's been fantastic to learn from you, and I can't wait to have more relationship with you, authentic relationship. And then, boy, when we talk about ex-con and the cop running around, we're going to change the world. We're going to change the world. So that's it for Conversation with Cubit. Listen, next week, we're going to talk. I know that we put the title in wrong, said they were wrongly convicted. Here's the truth. These men did what they said they did, but they're not who the society might say they are. Right? So we titled that wrong. But next week, we are going to talk about the wrongfully convicted here in the state of Oklahoma. We have the Innocence Project. I'll be right here, so you want to tune in. And the week after that, I'm going to have all my homies in here, and we're going to talk about what we did at Kojak with youth who are in the criminal justice system as juveniles. So thank you so much for joining us this week. That's it for Conversation Cubit. It's all about community.
And I graduated from that thing. One I got. You know how to raise? Yeah.